What is going on, guys? For today's 101, we're going to be talking about how to level up your character quickly. Now, some of these can actually apply to your tames as well, but these are just some key things to note when you're playing PvE. PvP really doesn't matter. How to level the characters up quickly. And leveling up quickly is obviously going to mean that you're going to get more level ups. You're going to get more points to spend on your character quickly. It's also going to mean you're going to unlock more engrams sooner as well. So a few things to note, and a couple of these are dependent on the map that you're playing on. Actually, really just one, and that is Explorer Notes. So Explorer Notes, you're typically going to find some modded maps have them, but primarily the artificial maps. So, you know, things like the Island, Scorched Earth, Aberration, Extinction, those maps, and even Genesis are going to have them on here. They'll look many and varied, but you'll see them out here in the open. If you run over them, this thing will pop up, and you'll start to see a timer down in that bottom right-hand corner. The bottom right hand corner indicates that you have an increased experience buff for that much time with the ticker pointing down on it. Now, if you walk over this yourself, the experience applies to you. If you're riding on a creature and your tame runs over it, the buff actually applies to your tame. This is one of those that kind of applies to both, and this is definitely more for the people that like to go out and explore and kind of kill stuff, and that's basically... This is going to be you're going to want to search for these, find these, and then kill things and level up that way. That's a super easy way to do it. There's a few other easy ways that you can compile them together, but if you're out exploring the ARC maps, these are your way to get XP. And if you find them, sometimes you might not want to open them up. Maybe mark them on your map, come back with a tame that you're trying to level up later and kind of save it for them. But typically there's unlocked dossiers for you or different stories about certain characters going through the ARC as far as the backstory goes. This is really where you're going to find some of the backstory as far as ARC goes. But Explorer Notes, it's definitely one. Alpha critters. All right, so typically without mods, you're going to see three different types of alphas. You're going to see alpha raptors, alpha carnos, and alpha T-rexes. All these will be noticeable by the gigantor red smoke coming off of them, and typically there is some reddish color going on with them as well. They have incredibly increased stats and increased movement speed. These guys are not your typical T-rex, or raptor, or Carno. They have more damage, they do more damage, they take less damage, they have more health, they move faster. Like they're definitely a hopped up version of their normal variant. But killing these creatures will give you a massive amount of XP. Now, if you're riding a creature and kill it with that, the creature will get that massive boost of XP. But if you're doing it on your foot, somehow you manage to kill one of these things, you'll actually get the XP. These things stack. So if you take something like an Explorer Note and then find this guy, sneak up on him, cage him, box him in however you can, and kill him off. That'll be how you do it to get that level up. So these two methods definitely apply to tames as well as just you. And these two are more for the explorer type playstyle who's going out, taking dinos out, leveling them up, and you know, they're definitely for more of the aggressive playstyle, obviously, the more out and about doing what you're doing sort of thing. There's a few others that we'll talk about as well, but alpha creatures, definitely pay attention to those. Carnivorous creatures in general typically will give you more XP. So like the big nasty T-Rexes and Carnos and Uds and Allos and things like that, they'll typically give you more XP than most other animals will in general, mainly because they're harder to kill. But yeah, alphas, hunt them down, take them out. All right, so these few other things are really going to apply to your base building type of deal. These things are definitely what you would normally just be doing in your base crafting, things like that. And also keep in mind, a lot of these methods will actually stack with each other. So we found another Explorer Note, so I have an XP bonus because of that. Believe it or not, a functioning toilet, if you poop, will also give you an XP bonus. I'm seeing two different XP bonuses at this point. Believe it or not, crafting a toilet, pooping on the toilet will give you an XP bonus. And that's pretty much how that works. Now, what you'll notice is this is a weird thing to talk about, but just so you know, you can tell if your character's rated to do that because of the food icon on my right hand side. So down on my bottom right hand side, you're going to see my XP meter, my weight, carry weight, food, water, stamina, and health. The food meter, when it's the same color as everything else, you won't be ready to. When the food meter is a slightly more gray than the rest of things, then you'll actually be able to do it, and it also applies an XP buff as well. This is cool if you're out and about working on your base, crafting stuff around the base. This is perfect for something like that because you're going to be in there anyway getting the XP for doing this stuff. You might as well get all the XP for doing this stuff. Top it off, crafting narcotics. Crafting narcotics is going to be an easy way early on to get a decent amount of XP. Fairly simple, spoiled meat, narco berries. As soon as you have yourself a decent berry getter and a decent way to get meat or just to spoil it down, That's definitely the way to do it. Narcotics are going to be the easier way to level up. It's one of the items that plus it's an item that you're going to use so much that it's typically, you're going to use these regardless. You might as well crank them out. Combining something like this with all the XP bonuses that we currently have going on, that's going to be the way to go. Now, there's a way to make this go even further. This is called the Broth of Enlightenment. I can drink this to get an increased experience boost as well. So now I have 3 different XP boosts stacking at one time. When I'm crafting things, you're going to fly up levels if you can manage to do this. Now, the Broth of Enlightenment is definitely something that you unlock later on. I would say a lot of this stuff you can do fairly early to mid-game, but the Broth of Enlightenment is definitely something for early on. And the Broth of Enlightenment also applies to creatures as well. But as you can see, I got 3 different XP boosts stacked right here all at the same time. The pooping on the toilet thing doesn't really last a whole lot, but because you can do it fairly often, it kind of makes up for it. But anyway, you can get those 3 different XP boosts while you're doing all this stuff. So you can actually have all 3 of these XP boosts running while you're inside crafting, while you're running around building stuff, crafting stuff in your house. This is definitely the way to go. I typically save a lot of these things up. I'll save a lot of narcotics up for when I'm going to be building my base or breeding animals, things where I'm going to be around the base for a significant amount of time anyway, and then I just craft the crap out of this stuff and I keep pumping it out while I'm doing it. Sometimes now, if you're on a 2-party, like if you're not soloing, you can actually, there's a couple of other things that you can do that will help your tames and as well as your tribe mates. First and foremost, when I'm crafting something and my tribe mates near me, they're getting a slight trickle of that percentage, and they can use that XP buff to amplify that as well. So you can be a team effort of leveling up. The other method for leveling up not only your tribe mates but also your creatures is to use a grinder, the industrial grinder, just throwing stuff in the grinder and turning it on while you're mounted on while your tribe mate's mounted on another creature. All that trickle XP will trickle into the dino and it'll level up pretty quickly that way. But typically these are the things you want to look out for. Like I said, the Broth of Enlightenment is something that you do later on, but making a functioning toilet, which you wouldn't think would be all that reasonable, wouldn't think would be all that necessary, is actually kind of is. Plus you get fertilizer out of it too whenever you flush it. Kind of cool. But between that, I would say making narcotics, the toilet, explorer notes, alpha creatures, Broth of Enlightenment. Like I said, the Broth of Enlightenments are going to be something it's kind of a later on activity, mainly because they require like black pearls and things like rhino horns. So you're definitely more of a mid to later game that you're going to be crafting stuff out of that, and that's either done on a cook pot or on a industrial cooker. And that's kind of basically the 4 vegetables that you can craft: measured berries, either a deathworm horn or a woolly rhino horn, more than likely a woolly rhino horn, 1 black pearl, and water. So again, kind of a later thing, but the XP buff is totally worth it, and it does apply to some of your tames as well. But basically, that's it. That's the usual things that I would use to kind of level up fast. I would definitely make one of these as soon as you can. Mass craft narcotics. Just mass craft them. And that way you also don't have to sit around. You can make 3 or 4 mortar pestles, have them all cranking them out at one time until you level up to get the chemistry bench so things go a little bit faster. Mass producing these along with things like explorer notes, these are all really smart ways to do things. Especially if you have something like a flyer. If you're out exploring on a flyer, you find an explorer note, you hop off the bird, grab it, fly back to your base. You got plenty of time. As you can see, the timer's still going down on this end. Plenty of time to grab that, fly back, and get all this other stuff done while you're doing it to get that XP bonus. There's definitely a few other things, but those are the key things that I would pay attention to. Crafting narcotics, using the toilet, Broth of Enlightenments, alpha creatures, and lastly, the explorer notes. Now, not all of the maps have explorer notes. Certain modded maps don't have it, and then certain maps that kind of got rolled into the Ark fold, like things like Ragnarok, don't necessarily have them out there. But you still have all the other different options. Just about anything in this game will give you XP. Just about anything. Just surviving. Just the bare minimum of things will give you XP. So if you're feeling like you're not leveling up fast enough or not the level that you want to, understand that it's going to happen. As long as you stay alive and you're doing things, you're going to get there eventually. But if you're looking to speed things up, or maybe you're not new and you just want to fast track your way through the levels, these are some of the best ways to do it. There's plenty of other ways, and if you got one in mind, throw it in the comments so that everybody else can see it. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. See you all next time.